on, running really.
Broadcasting live from the Capitol OTB studios, this is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Good morning and welcome to Racing Across America on this Saturday morning. And once again, it's one of those racing around the world days, actually. We just saw the third from Meydan, Dubai, the Godolphin Mile, and it was an American runner getting it done. Raging Torrent, Doug O'Neill trainee, Frankie Dettori on board. Nice win there, again, in the Godolphin Mile. We will have all the races coming up about 10:20. The next race from Dubai, that's going to be the sprint. We'll have that, so you won't miss any of the Dubai action. Then the next race after that is at 11 o'clock, and so we'll be wrapped up by then. That's the UAE Derby. There are some American entrants or some horses we're familiar with having run in America coming up on the card that you may want to tune in for. The fifth race, again, that will be around 11 o'clock, UAE Derby Flood Zone. Brad Cox trainee who won the Gotham in New York. We had talked to Brad subsequent to that, and he said, certainly looking at the UAE Derby, that was back right around the Gotham, and that's where they wound up. In the sixth race and post time there, about 11:40, it's the Golden Shaheen. Straight No Chaser, the nice runner for Dan Blacker, is in there. Rebels Romance, who we're familiar with in America, Charlie Appleby trainee, will be in the Shima Classic, the eighth race. And the Dubai World Cup itself is scheduled to go off at about 1:30. Hit Show is in there. Rattle and Roll is in there. But maybe more importantly, Forever Young is in there. So that should be a lot of fun as well. A nice card in Dubai today for Meydan. And again, we will have it. Oh, and you can come down, Clubhouse Racebook. We are open now. We opened at 9 o'clock this morning. Normally on a Saturday, we're 11 or 11:30, but we're open now so you can enjoy the Dubai card. So if you'd like to hop in the car and come on down and check out, we still have plenty of racing, morning racing in Dubai, as they say. Next up will be the UAE Derby, Golden Shaheen, Dubai Turf, Shima Classic, and Dubai World Cup. So again, if you'd like to come down, we would be happy to have you. Also, do want to note, you may be aware, because yesterday they were also not racing. It was supposed to be the kickoff weekend of the Keeneland Spring Meet. Really a crazy weather pattern across, as I will demonstrate in a moment, across a wide swath of the mid portion of the country. And with the potential for flooding and whatnot, it was looking extreme. It has worked out that way in some areas. Keeneland postponed Friday, yesterday, opening day, and today. They have moved them to Monday and Tuesday. So no Keeneland today, but again, they're scheduled to race tomorrow and then go Monday and Tuesday as well, with the Ashland Monday, the Bluegrass, and other undercard stakes on Tuesday. I expect to be in Monday and Tuesday for some OTB Live. If you'd like to tune in and enjoy those cards from Keeneland, should add some punch to a Monday and Tuesday, certainly. But Keeneland didn't race yesterday, not racing again today. They expect to be back tomorrow. Also expecting to be back tomorrow, but not racing today, Oaklawn, because, again, that weather pattern is extending quite a ways. They're expecting heavy rains as well. It was raining a little bit if you watched yesterday at Oaklawn, but they're expecting much heavier today. So they moved today's Saturday card to tomorrow at Oaklawn. So keep that in mind as well. With those changes and with no Oaklawn racing and no cross-country pick four and whatnot, Aqueduct actually moved their first post time to 12:30 today. I think they were supposed to go at 12:10, so they're 12:30 today for the Wood card, which is Wood Memorial, nice undercard stakes out in Southern California. It's Santa Anita Derby Day. It was going to be a big day at Derby preps with Wood. Santa Anita Derby, the Bluegrass, but again, now the Bluegrass goes on Tuesday, but still Wood Memorial Day in New York. And with the Wood coming up today, we'll have Acacia Courtney join us, Acacia Clement join us a little bit later on to take a look at some of those stakes in New York and get some opinions there, because again, it is a big day, not just with the Wood Memorial, but the Carter, the Gazelle, and some other stakes. Should be a lot of fun at Aqueduct on this Saturday afternoon. It was fun last week at Gulfstream. We were down for Florida Derby Day, had a good time, and once again, want to thank everybody at Gulfstream for their hospitality. It was a nice day of racing. A little bit overcast, temperatures were okay. Sprinkled a little bit about midday, but they had a pretty good crowd there. I think we have some shots of the crowd down at Gulfstream from last weekend. Again, want to thank everybody at Gulfstream for their hospitality, everybody in the press office, Dave Joseph and whatnot, Ben and Dennis, part of the TV team. They did a great job. And I'll also thank, I was down there with Dan and Shannon from OTB. Anthony up here in the studio handled the cut-ins and whatnot. So again, you can see there, nice crowd on a nice day with some very nice racing. We popped around after the stakes action and grabbed some interviews with trainers and connections and whatnot after most of the stakes. Game plan was going to be to drop it in last Sunday, and I had some technical difficulty. I couldn't upload these videos, so we'll go through some of them today, because again, a lot of these connections talk about future plans for the winners from the other day, and a lot of them, future plans are Saratoga, you know, the Belmont weekend up at Saratoga and beyond, but we're taking a listen to. So I did want to, since we popped out into the winner's circle and caught some of these interviews, I thought we would toss a few of them in this morning and, again, catch up on follow-up on some nice performances last weekend down at Gulfstream. We'll start things out. We'll kind of go in chronological order with the stakes from last Saturday. The Cutler Bay, 7 furlongs on the turf. It was classic, of course. This one was kind of interesting. Patrick Biancone trainee, Frankie Dettori on board. Last week he wins at Gulfstream. This week he wins in Dubai. But classic, of course, first time on turf. First time on turf wins a stakes race. Patrick Biancone talked a little bit about that. Looks like they're probably pointing to a turf stake at Churchill on Derby weekend. And then also the Grade 3 Orchid Beach Bomb won for Graham Motion. Luis Saez was on board. And you will see, just hangs on, does Beach Bomb. But I asked Graham Motion, because now 2 for 2 this year. And I said, has Beach Bomb just become maybe a little bit more mature, whatnot? He said, you know, last year we came from South Africa, Beach Bomb did, and was in quarantine. And he thought this year, with a little break after the Breeders' Cup, maybe she is a little bit better now that she's had a little time to settle in. So heard a little bit about that as well. And this one may be heading to Saratoga next. So up next, Patrick Biancone, Graham Motion, after a couple of stakes wins last weekend down at Gulfstream.
They reach the top of the stretch. Forge Steel still has the lead. Off cover, I'm due. Farther out, Classic, of course. They're 1/8 of a mile from home. And here's Dettori. Here's Classic, of course, charging hard to try to reach Forge Steel. Forge Steel is just in front. Outside, it's Classum, of course, trying to get by. Classic, of course, or Forge Steel. Classic, of course, in front. Classic, of course, and a nice trip from Frankie Dettori. They win the Cutler Bay from the favorite Forge Steel second. I'm due as third.
It's a horse who have a lot of quality, very good. You know, we like him a lot. And we were supposed to go to a turf way to run on a poly track, you know, Tapeta. Then 10 days before, he got a bit of fever, but I missed the work. But I had to regroup and change, and then the blood was good. And the only thing available was the Florida Derby or the race on the turf. We worked him on the turf, and Junior worked him, and he said, I don't know if he's better on the dirt or better on the turf. He's just a very good horse. Mature now. The blinkers have helped him a lot. More focus. No need to stay so far behind. I don't know. He win 350,000, I think. He has to be a good horse.
Yeah. So you thought enough of this horse to be considered before the Derby, huh?
Yeah, but he's, to be honest with you, in his ranking for me, he may be 19, 23, 24 in the country, but he's tough in the Derby. We don't want to kill him,
Right.
Just if you cannot win, you better take another way, and that's what we decide to do. And as he seems to go as fast on the turf and we go on the turf, we run on Derby Day but the other race.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
So with a nice performance like that on the turf now, is this too early to tell? But what's the future hold?
He's going to run what's the name of the race? Derby Day, the turf.
They change it all the time. It's a
Something
three-year-old.
American turf?
Yeah,
The American turf.
Yeah.
Okay.
How about the trip Frankie gave him?
Yeah, very good. Very good. Very good. He said they was not going fast enough for me. He said he's like, well, myself.
Yeah.
Right.
He really seemed to kind of re-break there. That other horse.
Yeah, but he's a little bit, he did run, but each time when he run, he come to win, and he just, when he hit the front, he do that. Now today, I'm happy that he take the lead, he think a little bit, then he go again. What he mean, the horse mature, improve, better on his mind. It's come to be a child to be a man.
They reach the top of the stretch, and Beach Bomb tries to make a break for it. Beach Bomb turns in on top by a length and a half. My Brazilian Girl is second. Electing an inside run is La Mejana down the center in Silvology. They're an eighth of a mile from home. It's Beach Bomb. She's trying to go a mile and a half down the road. She's looking good with La Mejana trying to close her down at the rail. Silvology on the outside. Yards to go. Beach Bomb just in front. Beach Bomb holds to win the Orchid.
She was drawn on the outside, so it was perfect. He could make the pull what he wanted to do, but I really didn't give him any instructions. After last time, what was I going to say?
Right. You had to be happy when you were looking at the fractions and.
Well, we went quicker today. We went quite a lot quicker, so I was worried about the mile and a half.
Right.
I don't know that that's what she wants to do. I think we get away with it here.
Okay. Just as impressive as she's been in a couple races here, you guys got to be thrilled with her.
Yeah, what a nice filly.
2 for 2 this year. Has she maybe matured as a 5-year-old?
I think people don't realize what these guys went through last year. They came a year ago and they spent 2 months locked up in a small quarantine barn. So I think having a little break after Breeders' Cup really allowed them to grow up and kind of be themselves, and I think the time's done them the world of good. I really do.
Too early, or you have something lined up?
Well, it's a nice race in New York, a mile and a quarter, which I think is going to be more her thing. It's Saratoga, right?
New York.
Yeah, the New York. That's a grade one, right? So I think you have to look at a race like that. I think a mile and a quarter is what she wants to do. I think this is a stretch for her to be on.
What made you come in there?
How could you pass
Thanks,
up
man.
this weekend? She's won on the track. Timing was good. She came out of the race great. And I just thought on this track we'd get away with it.
13-1 with the 3/4. Were you okay with how
She went quicker today than she did last time. I was worried, actually. They went 48 and change, I think. So I was concerned. I didn't know that she'd last. She's pretty honest, though. It's pretty genuine.
And again, there was Graham Motion saying, yep, looking for Saratoga perhaps next for that one. So we'll look for Beach Bomb in Saratoga right up the turnpike. Coming up next, the Pan Am follow-up. Nice performance by Firebridge. That one had been off since the Breeders' Cup turf. Threw in a little bit of a clunker in that one. Christophe Clement, Joel Rosario caught up with Christophe Clement's son and assistant Miguel in the winner's circle. You'll see. It was a ding-dong stretch battle, Firebridge. But again, off the layoff, it was a nice performance. Another one that is aiming for some New York races coming forward. Miguel lays that out as well. And then the Grade 3 Go Sapper featured White Abario, who went up at a very short price and deservedly so. Safi Joseph, trainee with IRAD on board. You'll hear Safi say a perfect prep for the Met Mile, which again will be Belmont Stakes weekend up at Saratoga. And he goes on to say, we feel we have the best horse in the country, and talks a little bit about heading up to Saratoga and probably trying to get there a little bit early as well. So up next, recaps the Pan Am and the Go Sapper.
They went the mile in 1:35.1, and the racing lane is materialized for Farbridge, and he's on the attack now. Here comes the classy son of English Channel. Farbridge issued the challenge to Corruption. Corruption's been under pressure for a while. With fresh legs, it's Farbridge down the center. These two kick on with 1/8 of a mile to go. Corruption is dead game. Farbridge trying to press past. Farbridge and Corruption. Corruption and Farbridge. They put on a show in the Pan Am, and Farbridge gets the final call. He had to work very hard as Corruption gave him all he wanted.
No, he's always shown an affinity to love Gulfstream. I think he's 4 for 4.
4 for 4,
His works at home have been very promising, so actually ran true to form. So I'm very delighted.
Yeah. You probably didn't have her all the way tight for this race, I would think. Maybe this isn't probably your ultimate goal here.
I don't know, but they just ran like I think 2:22 and change, so I feel like he was tight enough, you know?
Yeah.
But he ran very well. He ran very well, and I'm watching right now the replay as we speak, and it was definitely impressive.
Yeah. What's the plan for him going forward?
I think we'll follow the similar plan. We'll go Man of War, Manhattan, right off the board. You know, those are the 2 most logical spots. We'll see how it comes out of it and make the plan afterwards. Before today, our 3-race key was today Pan American, then Manhattan, and Man of War.
Okay.
I lied. All the way around. It's Man of War first, then Manhattan.
Okay. Yeah.
With this horse being so proficient at Gulfstream, was this kind of the goal for the start of the season right along?
For this season, yes. Although next year, we should definitely consider perhaps the Pegasus Turf. You know, it's a mile and 1/8 at end of January. Just came out of a subpar performance perhaps in the Breeders' Cup, so we decided to bring him back about gently, give him a bit more time. But hopefully next year we could plan it better so that he could partake in the Pegasus Turf.
It's the classy White Barrio who has the lead off the turn into the drive on top of 1.25 length. Power Squeeze has done everything she can, but what she can't do is catch White Barrio. White Barrio, the son of Race Day, the Pegasus World Cup winner, en route to an easy victory. White Barrio geared down and 7 in front. Power Squeeze ran her heart out while second. Third was Tuscan Sky. Fourth was Lightning Tones in 1:41.4.
I just love how he did it. They went fast, which is good because you're going to go fast in the mile. So I actually don't mind that they went fast, and he won as easy as he can. I mean,
He was confidently, had him.
Yeah, he did. And then the portable, obviously, I knew they were going quick, so you're always looking to see if the race is going to fall apart. But he's just in a different league right now, and hopefully he stays healthy like this, and we feel like we have the best horse in the country.
Do you feel like this was a perfect prep for the
Yeah, perfect prep. Because I mean, you always want to make it as easy as possible, and you want to win. You don't want to get beat. And I thought he won as easy as he could win after going very quick first time. I haven't seen him go on the 42 for a long time on this track. That's a very quick time. I mean, I know you got a little moisture in it, but I don't think it was enough to make it that fast.
Will he stay here most of the time?
No, he's going to stay here most of the time, but we want to get to Saratoga early. He does better. Like when he won the Breeders' Cup for Rick, he was there early in Santa Anita. When he won the Whitney, he was in New York. So we want to get him there early. How early, we don't know yet, but he's going to go there earlier. He's going to ship early.
So again, we can expect White Barrio up in Saratoga sooner rather than that. May be putting it too. He wants to go early, but I mean, there's no place to go at this point. But I think the Oklahoma opens up shortly, right? It's April, so. But again, the game plan is the Met Mile next. And I had talked to Safi before. We put in a interview with Safi. We did on Thursday or Friday. We had it on the Friday or Saturday show. And I asked, is it too early to say what's next? Maybe more at Saratoga? And he said, yeah, the Whitney would be the logical afterwards. So we'll see some White Barrio up at Saratoga. In the meantime, we have a couple of more recaps, including the Florida Derby with Brad Cox. We'll drop them in a little bit later. Again, we have Acacia Courtney coming up shortly to take a look at some of the New York Stakes today on Wood Memorial Day. But we do have the sprint coming up from Dubai, and so we'll send it there. The American runner in here, Graham Motion. We just saw Graham, but has Izzy Vungu in here. The number 4 horse, Christophe Soumillon, on board, but they're just about to load in. So again, race number 4 from Meydan over in Dubai on World Cup Day. It is the sprint. We'll send it there. We'll come back and continue racing across America shortly. Stay tuned.
Well, a quick word ahead of our sprint with trainer John Sayers, who has How Deep Is Your Love running this evening. He's got pretty good form back at home. Bring him over here on a straight track. How do you feel he'll take to Meydan?
Well, everything's a gamble in that respect. You know, he has to adapt quickly in a very short period of time. So we'll soon find out whether he's done that or not, but it won't take us long. We'll know the results soon.
He's handled his travel over and his training good?
Yeah, he's at home. He's fine. You know, he's traveling. He's well-conditioned horse. He's nice and quiet, got very good temperament, does everything perfect. But always race day that can change very quickly.
Absolutely. Well, he looked an absolute picture, I must say. He's a horse that seems to have a lethal turn of foot. Will you be trying to use that late on?
Yeah, we'll aim to ride him as we always do. He'll be sort of back a little bit away from the leaders and run on late. So hopefully he can pick him up.
It's great to have you here. We wish you the very best of luck.
Thank you very much.
Cool, thank you. It's really good to have strong Hong Kong representation here. Of course, they took the race last year. That was with the Tony Cruz trained California Spangle. And this horse, How Deep Is Your Love, the mount of James McDonald, knows all about this horse. He knows all about Kai Ying Rising, of course, who's beaten this horse a few times. That, my view, Megan, is that's the best bit of form on offer, that offer by How Deep Is Your Love. But there again, you look through it, there's real European depth to this as well, with consistent Group 1 performers.
Yeah, there is real depth to this race for sure. How Deep Is Your Love, as you say, his form in Hong Kong is repeatedly good, and he has got that lethal turn of foot late on, but it's a totally different challenge. He's very much used to running around the bend, straight track here, and often you do have to stay well on this 6 furlongs. The European form strong, and the likes of Believing are so consistent.
Just on this horse, do you get the impression that James is just going to feel his way into the race and not rush anything? Is that the horse's how he tends to want to be ridden, do you think?
Look, he's got audience drawn next to him who's a pace angle. James McDonald does not need to be any rush. He knows that he's got the turn of foot to use. He's going to want to pounce late and use that to his advantage.
Most likely winner for you?
I really like the chances of Believing. They're drawn opposite sides of the track, actually. Believing comes out of stall 1. But for me, physically, she looks like she's improved again. She's been ultra consistent, and maybe this is the exact trip she needs, a flat 6 furlongs. She's a strong finisher over the 5, and I think she looked an absolute picture on her return.
Yeah, and she, of course, now has those Magnia, Tabor, Smith colours, and Resolute as well, but that is what the Coolmore operation are always consistently looking for, a fast filly. And they've had great success breeding from those, and they've picked up Believing here, as you say, he's drawn in number 1. West Acre, we just need to make sure they keep a lid on that horse. I mean, they know what they're doing. He's always last in. He wears that red hood initially. He can be, quite a keen-going sort, and they want to settle him into a race and produce him late.
Honestly, he has grown up so much this season. Really impressed with how he's handling the prelims, better than actually a couple of his elders. And they're loading pretty quickly here, so I think it won't be long before we need to go and join Pat.
Let's do that, Pat.
It's going to go fast here, that's for sure. They will speed along in the Alcor Sprint. The first of our thoroughbred Group 1s for the night. Audience and Marvan take their place. Only leaves a couple. 3-year-old in West Acre. What a story it will be. Waited to run a good race. Christian De Muro loading away on down on McKinley. Last up, Believing. And we will be set for the Alcor Sprint, sponsored by Azizi Developments. Ready to race. Away they go. Blindfold snapped, and Believing was one of the first into stride with Regional. Then came Win Carnelian. They're the first 3. Marban's Handy from Isi Vungu Vungu. Then came Quinault next from Danon McKinley. How Deep Is Your Love, spotting the lead 4 lengths. Next was Puro Magic. Audience not as close to the speed as we expected. West Acre, the last one of the division as they make their way down the straight as one. Win Carnelian, the leader from Marban in second. Regional half a length back in third from Quinault. Believing's just dropped back a few strides here in the Alquoz sprint. 600 metres left to go. They were followed by How Deep Is Your Love? Audience getting going down the centre along with West Acre, who's finding plenty. Issy Vungu Vungu out to second to last from next to him running their Puro Magic. It's Win Carnelian, though, who's finding a lot. Win Carnelian, the one to chase in the Alquoz sprint. Gets away now from Believing, who's finding again. Gets a second breath of wind with Regional. Win Carnelian for Japan, though, with 150 to go. Out clear by 2 lengths. Believing and Regional finding more in the late stages. Believing right over the top here. Believing goes on to win. Believing for William Buick, half a length on the line. What a thrilling Alquoz sprint. Second over, Win Carnelian from next over Regional, done on McKinley. Then came Puro Magic, who was doing his best work late. West Acre next from Audience, Marban, Quinault, Issy Vungu Vungu, the last one to greet the judge. Believing for William Buick and George Bowie. We saw these colours successful last season with Wallbank down the straight, but they have found the ultimate prize over 1,200 metres in the United Arab Emirates. The Alquoz sprint, Believing in 107.77.
Well, Believing was ultra consistent last year. Didn't quite get her Group 1, but tonight she's managed to do it. And I'm joined by George Bowes' assistant trainer, Henry Morsehead. Henry, she is so tough. Well done.
Yeah, it's a huge relief. We've been very bullish on her through the winter since she came back from the mare's sale, and honestly just hugely privileged to even have it back in training.
You like free money? Well, Capital OTB gives its players plenty of opportunities to cash in. At Capital OTB, there are so many ways for horse players to receive bonus dollars by simply participating in promotions such as our bankrolls, bounty bets, online handicapping contests, and much, much more. Plus, with Capital OTB's Player Rewards program, you get actual cash back. So what are you waiting for? Log on today at CapitalOTB.com or CapitalOTBBet.com and claim your free money.
Sometimes it pays to go with the flow, to check your worries at the door, to reconnect with your crew, to follow the thrills and the flavor, to roll with it and see where it takes you, to enjoy every minute to its fullest, and to dance like there's no tomorrow. You can do that here at Rivers Casino and Resort Schenectady, where the good times flow.
Want to get your career in horse racing off to a fast start? Well, the University of Arizona's Racetrack Industry Program is your winning ticket. The Racetrack Industry Program has served as a springboard to some of the industry's most successful individuals, with a proven track record of job placement right out of college. If you want to earn a degree in the exciting horse racing industry, the Racetrack Industry Program can put you in the winner's circle.
And correct weight is given in the Alquoz Sprint, sponsored by Azizi Developments. 9872. 9872. Correct weight. Believing your winner, 107.77. 3/4 by a head. Correct weight.
An incredibly dramatic renewal of the Alquoz Sprint has just unfolded here at Meydan, with Believing just getting up under a brilliant ride from William Buick for the George Bowie team. Seeing off the Japanese challenger Win Carnelian with Regional, running a mighty race on his first start since last summer back in the UK. Beautiful to watch her pricking her ears at the end of that race, Angus. Quite an outstanding performance from her, and earning her position as a Grade 1, Group 1 winner, having run so well in a number of Group 1s in the UK.
She certainly did, yeah. She was unlucky on a couple of occasions, particularly in the Nunthorpe at York, where she was in the wrong part of the track, but she finished very strongly. Here she finished strongly too, 22.06, the final 400 metres for her, and a finishing speed percentage of 102.4. So that suggests we've got an evenly run sprint here. She's coming in 2.4% quicker than she did through the final 4 furlongs from the rest of the race. So let's roll it and have a look. We'll just have a look at the first part of the race, Reece, and then we'll cut to the end of it. 1, 4, 2, the stalls for the first 3. Now, I think it was evenly run, 10.64, 10.48, and then a 10.23. But Martin, visually, you thought some of them were keen in behind?
I thought it was a slow run race. Quinals, who circled, normally races front rank. Look how keen he is, because it's a slow run race. And the horse behind him in the red colours, Dana McKinley, equally as keen. I think that was a very slow second furlong or so, and I think that had an impact on how the race unfolded.
Okay, the 4th furlong. Sorry, Rich.
Sorry, I was just about to say, I'm going to turn it over to show you through the last furlong, because, of course, we saw that horrible injury to How Deep Is Your Love, and we'll try and bring you any news that we get as soon as we do on the Hong Kong Challenger.
This is Win Carnelian, who put pace into the race at halfway with a 10.23 second furlong. Really injected pace quite a long way out, and it's set up for those coming just off it, like Believing, who is down towards the far side. She gets a good gap. What a race Regional has run in the sheepskin noseband. He looked well beaten, but then rallied and came through with Believing. That's a good effort from him, and the first 4 just a clear of the rest.
Again, it's a big day down in New York, the Wood, and a great undercard of stakes races. So who better to talk to than our friend Acacia Courtney, who has returned to New York. I saw on the broadcast yesterday, after making what I would say was, for me, the Envy Tour this winter. A couple of stops at Tampa, last weekend at Oaklawn, 2 of my favorite tracks that I haven't been to in a long time, but I was envious, certainly. Acacia, good morning.
Good morning, Seth. How are you? Yeah, I've been on the whirlwind road trip the last few weeks, but it's been a lot of fun, and actually heading back to Oaklawn next week for the Apple Blossoms. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, Torpedo Anna. We're all looking forward to that. Talk a little bit about last week, though. Sandman, I've liked Sandman throughout. Well, got a little wonky late in the stretch, but it was a nice win, certainly, with a scenario that's set up nicely for him. And then Quiet Side and Simply Joking ran very well also on the Philly side of things last weekend.
Yeah, that's true. The Phillies were really impressive. I've been a big fan of Quiet Side all along since she debuted in Saratoga. She's I think, just one that has a ton of class, and it was cool to see her run. And she and Simply Joking really did look like the ones that were just way above the rest of the horses in that field, and they ran like it as well. So that was a really exciting race. It's funny you say that. I have not been a fan of Sandman all along. I feel like he's one of those horses that has just step by step done enough to make you be interested in him in the next race. And I feel like he's going to be one that takes a lot of money in the Kentucky Derby, and especially with the pedigree in the Belmont Stakes. If he gets there as well, he's certainly one that could run well in either of those races if he gets some pace. But I do feel like he's really got the setup to run in the Arkansas Derby with that crazy pace duel up front. That said, he ran and he finished, and at least he was able to do it without trouble like he has had in some of his previous races.
Yeah, and again, it was a nice performance, but it did set up very nicely for him. And as I say, he got a little wonky late in the stretch. So that concerned me a little bit, but it was a nice performance. And we had talked to Terry Finley. We were down at Gulfstream covering the Florida Derby last week, and they had the nice runner Sorcerer Silver on Thursday, West Point. So we talked to Terry Finley. He said he was headed to Oaklawn. But then at Gulfstream, we were standing watching the big screen out in the walkway, the breezeway, with Tommy Bellhouse and Jason Blewett, and they were certainly enjoying the action there with a few dozen other people after the races had wound up at Gulfstream, but people stuck around to watch the Arkansas Derby. I'm guessing it may have been a little bit different for you because we bounced out to the winner's circle for a lot of the stakes races, and we got a chance to talk to your husband, Miguel, after the really nice win by Farbridge. So I'm assuming you were probably in Arkansas rooting that one home.
I was. I told this story on Talking Horses yesterday alongside Andy Sterling. There's a little kind of platform where the reporters hang out along the trackside and next to the horse path at Oaklawn Park. And I had put my phone on and I was watching Gulfstream races, and I just started screaming. And Maggie Wolfendale, Richard McGlory were standing next to me, and they kind of looked over, and then they realized what I was yelling at, and then started leaning over my shoulder, and we all started cheering in the stretch, which was a lot of fun. But yeah, that was a really exciting race off a layoff. He's just all class, that horse, and so excited to see him back and hoping he has a really strong year again.
Yeah, it was a nice ding-dong battle, nice win by him after the layoff since the Breeders' Cup, and looking forward to him up at Saratoga as well. All right, let's jump in. Speaking of New York racing again, really the first really big day of New York racing with the Wood Memorial, nice undercard of stakes. We'll talk about a few of them. Let's start out with the Wood Memorial. Nice field in here. I'm excited. I think there's some interesting horses in the bunch, and I'm going to put one of them on top, Grande. Maybe I should have learned my lesson last week with Disruptor. I was on that one for Rapoli and Pletcher. But off the two wins, and we're going to take a look at the latest, February 27th. Grande is going to be the number 5 horse here on the replay. I'm going to take a shot with that one. Sand Devil has been interesting to me throughout for Linda Rice. Nice New York bred that ran second in the Gotham behind Flood Zone, who's coming up in the UAE Derby. Statesman is really interesting to me. The post position scares me away a little bit, but off the two wins down at Tampa at a price, I thought he was playable. Rodriguez comes in for Bob Baffert. What did you see in the Wood?
Yeah, there's a lot of really interesting storylines, as you mentioned. There's also Captain Cook for Rick Ducho, who won the Withers at a mile and an eighth here at Aqueduct. And the way the New York preps are scheduled, the Withers is a mile and an eighth, and the Gotham in March cuts back to a mile, and then the Wood is a mile and an eighth. So horses that have run in the Withers kind of have that foundation already coming into this and know that you can handle the distance, which I think is really encouraging with Captain Cook. I think the waters get even deeper, as they should, in the Wood here. But there should be an honest pace as well with the presence of Rodriguez to the rail. Sand Devil is a horse that should be quick early on. And Grande, who you mentioned, I like quite a bit as well. I was really impressed by him, and he just looks like the type of horse that distances his friend. Another one that's already been proven, going the 9 furlongs. He was a little bit green in that allowance win, even still down at Gulfstream, but he's only raced twice. He's still figuring it out, and clearly Todd Pletcher as an embarrassment of riches, where he's had plenty of other horses to kind of go quickly into those Derby prep spots, where he's been able to take a little bit more time with this horse running in that allowance race on the Fountain of Youth undercard instead of going right into a Derby prep race. So he's very intriguing as well. I think there's a lot of fun storylines in here, and I think the biggest key will be how the pace does play out and who gets positioned. You mentioned the post with Statesman going a mile and an eighth at 2 turns here at the Big A. It's pretty quick into that first turn. So you need to be able to save ground as much as possible.
Yeah, there's no question about it. And as I say, that's what kind of shied me away from using that one higher. I had that one down at the bottom of the mix, but at the price. And I said he could be a little bit interesting in that Derby pool this weekend. And I didn't mention at the top of the show, there is the future Derby pool. And folks shouldn't forget, it closes at 4 o'clock today before the preps are run. That's the logic behind it. But keep that in mind. Typically it closes on Sunday, but this pool closes today at 4 o'clock. All right, let's look at the Carter on the undercard. Grade 2 event, 7 furlongs, the trip. I'm going to take another shot. I'm going to take a shot with Dilger in here. We're going to take a look at the Gulfstream race back on March 2nd. He's going to be the number 1 horse. Safi Joseph trainee with Dylan Davis scheduled on board. But Quince Brew is interesting, coming up from a couple of wins at Laurel. The General George with a triple-digit buyer. Crazy Mason for Greg Sacco. Sheriff Bianco for Linda Rice. The cross entered tomorrow. So we'll see there. But Donegal Momentum going turf to dirt for Tom Morley. Again, another interesting field in here. Your thoughts in the Carter?
Yeah, absolutely. Sheriff Bianco is scratching, going to run on Sunday instead. So field of 7 in the Carter. But I always love this race. I feel like it's kind of, it's an earlier Met Mile. These kind of horses that are stretching out from a sprint distance or maybe cutting back a little bit and meeting in the middle at the 7 furlongs. It's always been a race that I think is a lot of fun. Quince Brew has been amazing in the Mid-Atlantic. That General George was really impressive with a 101 buyer speed figure and coming in for Ned Allard, who I always have so much respect for. He, of course, so he runs fast races at Laurel. Coming to New York, you always wonder how it's going to transfer and is he going to be able to stack up against these? He leaves himself a lot to do, but Crazy Mason is very interesting. He was still so far away from the rest of the field last time out, and just the field of 5 horses, he was out of the picture and he comes flying by. He had trouble 2 starts back. He was far off of it and he comes running. He's a big horse, but he's one that I think has much more of a demeanor for sprint distance and has actually been very effective since cutting back, and he's in good form right now as well. And then Full Moon Madness, who won that Tom Fool. I do wonder if maybe he's better a touch shorter than the 7 furlongs. He is 0 for 4 at the distance, so that's a little bit of the question in here. But yeah, a lot of those big players, I am just most intrigued by seeing what Quince Brew can do coming in here. The Maryland bred, who has been pretty impressive thus far.
Yeah, that General George win. Although it was over a muddy sealed track, you wonder if that played to his, was a benefit for him. We'll find out more about that one today, but certainly looked good in that last race. All right, and finally, we'll take a look at the Gazelle. Again, on these big days for the boys with Derby preps, there are also typically filly races heading to the Oaks, and the Gazelle fits that bill. I have to be honest. When I handicapped this race, I wanted to go against Ballerina d'Oro. And I looked and looked and looked, and I eventually landed there. I didn't see anything else that got my juices flowing necessarily, but I did put Vanilla Sunday right underneath. We're going to look at the last race for that one. Vanilla Sunday is going to be the 1A. It's Pletcher and Rapoli coming off of this big maiden win. If I was looking for an alternative, I may tilt in that direction. But early on, it's interesting. Pure Beauty from Shug off a couple of Gulfstream races could be a player as well. What did you see in the Gazelle?
Yeah, I thought it was a race that my first inclination is to try and go against Ballerina d'Oro, because she's one that just comes from so far off of it. The pace was slow last time in the Devona Dale. It was off of a bit of a layoff. It was going a mile. She was never really kind of able to get into her running style. While she was really far back in the demo cell, she had pace to run out, and she did come running late and finish behind Mohima, who I know had been really well thought of for the Brad Cox barn. So you give her that, but she's a horse that just has no early speed. And I know Dylan Davis said yesterday that he was hoping to not have her so far back, but I think she is one that makes that one big run closing late. Vanilla Sunday is certainly one that has the speed for sure. I think Pure Beauty is really interesting. I think she's really going was distant third for her, going the mile in a 16th, but she had an outside pose. You couldn't reach the top 2. I think she's going to love this distance.
Yeah, as I say, she's interesting for me. And with the Tampa jockey in to ride, going to be on board there. That's fun as well to watch some of these out-of-town jockeys come in on big days like this. And it is a big day. Update us, America's Day at the races. When can people tune in today?
We start at 12. We've got a long, jam-packed show today. We start at 12 o'clock on FS2. We'll be on FS1 a little bit later for the Wood. We're bringing full coverage of Aqueduct, and we're also showing the last 3 races from Meydan, including the Dubai World Cup. So early on, Andy Sterling and I will cover that here on Fox Sports. So looking forward to a really, really fun day of racing.
Yeah, I just was talking because we're showing the Dubai races as we go through the morning as well. And looking for, I said, when I talked about the Dubai World Cup, I said, yeah, we have Hit Show in there and Rattle and Roll. And of course, Forever Young. So it's shaping up to be a really good day overseas as well. But we appreciate the conversation this morning. We'll be tuned in today, but envious again next week. Again, Oaklawn, one of my favorite tracks, haven't been there in quite a while. But I'm also envious that you get to see Torpedo Anna. She has just been such a great story, and that it continues this year is going to make the entire 2025 a lot of fun.
It's really special. And everybody at Oaklawn Park is so nice. It's a track I really enjoy going to, and one that up until this past year, I really hadn't been to very much, and got to see Torpedo Anna gallop in between races when I was there last week on Arkansas Derby Day, which was a lot of fun for the fans. And she looks great coming in. And then you have Where's My Ring, who was really impressive, winning an allowance race at Oaklawn last time out. She won the Gazelle last year. She could maybe be an intriguing foe to the reigning horse of the year, which makes for a good race. So really looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Acacia, appreciate the visit. Travel safe down to Oaklawn and back, and we'll see you up in Saratoga sooner rather than later.
Thank you, Seth. Looking forward to it.
Appreciate it. Acacia Courtney, again, big day down at Aqueduct today. Really the first really big day. There have been some nice stakes days already, but Wood Memorial Day really kicks off the New York season for sure. All right, let's get back to some of our replays here. And why don't we go right to the Florida Derby replay from last weekend? It was number 9, Tapan Street, getting it done for Brad Cox and Luis Saez. After the race, Elliot Walden from WinStar, one of the owners of Tapan Street, it gives a little brief explanation of the name. That was kind of interesting. Brad talks about taking the time off since the February 1st Holy Bull, skipping the Fountain of Youth to go into this race, and the plans going forward to head up to Kentucky and get set into Churchill Downs in prep for the Derby. So up next, again, Winner's Circle reactions after the win by Tapan Street in the Florida Derby.
They're an eighth of a mile from home. Here comes Tapan Street, surging forward now to take the lead. Sovereignty runs at him from the outside with a 16th to go. If you're looking for a shortcut to Louisville, take a ride on Tapan Street. He wins the Florida Derby by a length and a half. Second is Sovereignty. Third is Neo Equos. Fourth is Mataket Road. Disruptors up fifth for the high 5 in 149 and 1.
Mr. Maganero, who originally owned a piece with us, he passed away the week we bought him. We tried to name him Maganero. He was taken. So this is the street that he grew up on in Boston. So he's looking down on us.
Anytime have a young horse like this and you give him nearly, 8 weeks between starts, there's always a concern that, does he know enough? But he's a very smart horse. He's intelligent. I felt he would break very, very well today. Just the way he'd been training, and he did. And I think that, put him in the race and put him in a great position, and he responded well. So
you couldn't have drawn up the trip any different, better, right?
No. It was, from the outside. And listen, I went back and watched a good few Florida Derbies this week, and I know the last two, the Todd's one, Fierceness and Forte, they broke from the outside. So not all the way, but I think they were one in. And, it can be done. And obviously we have the run up that was added on this year. So we felt like we were in a good position.
How do you feel like, with his schedule, how do you feel like that will prepare him for the Derby?
Well, look, we have 5 weeks. I mean, we need to make sure he comes out of it in good order first and foremost. I think our plan right now is Monday or Tuesday to ship him to Churchill. And, hopefully he comes out of it in good order and we can march forward. I think he's going to get a tremendous amount out of this. Louis was very high on the horse after he broke his maiden. He was very high on him after the Holy Bull, and he had a lot of confidence in him, and we had a lot of confidence in him, and it all come together today.
Confidence level going a mile and a quarter.
Louis said no problem. Yeah, no problem. He's got a great mind. He doesn't overdo it. I mean, look, everybody's going to pick him apart, including you.
Maybe not.
And, with the 3 weeks leading up. But look, we held off a very good horse today that's obviously like a mile and a quarter as well. But this was a step forward. This horse's 2 numbers he run, his first 2 starts were really good, and I felt like this two-month lead up to this Florida Derby he would propel him forward, and you never know if they're going to respond, but he did.
There was never any hesitation on your part after the last race. We're waiting.
Yeah, we're going to wait. We just felt like we've been very fortunate the last 4 years to be on this Derby trail with some very good horses, and it's hard on them. It's very, very tough on them. I mean, you see most all trainers have raised them 5/8, 58, 59 a minute, and it takes a very special horse. It takes a special horse to get in there and to be one of the 20. But it's demanding, and you want to have a little. You got to have a little gas left in the tank, for Saturday in May. So we're hoping that he comes out in the middle of it.
Right. Knowing how Sovereignty won his 2 races. When you saw it shape up in the stretch, Sovereignty behind your colt, any concerns, and what did you think?
Well, I was kind of watching him up the backside. He was right behind us as they turned up the backside. He was sitting a little closer, I think, maybe than they normally do. And I don't really think they went quite as quick as maybe we expected. I thought Todd's colt would be up close, and I heard Pete say that he was last going up the backside. So I thought, well, it did a little bit. So, Sappy's horse really held in there and stayed on for a little while as well. So, just watch the replay here. But, now look, I mean, Louis stayed after our colt, and he responded. And, I think, he's a horse that doesn't pull, which is a good thing. I think going a mile and a quarter, he's able to put himself in the race and then kind of turn off and respond when we asked him to pick it up.
You kind of alluded to it. What's the game plan? When are you heading to Kentucky?
Monday or Tuesday is the plan. He'll go directly to church, obviously, and regroup and probably 3 weeks leading up, and go from there.
Again, thanks to everybody down at Gulfstream for their hospitality. We featured this morning some interviews in the winner's circle after the stakes races. Again, wanted to get those last Sunday, but had trouble kind of uploading them overnight Saturday to Sunday. So I did want to show them, though, because, again, it gave some reaction on what happened and where some of these horses may be going. And some of them will certainly wind up at Saratoga, as was demonstrated by what folks said about some, including Wade Barrio, aimed for the Met Mile. All right, we're coming up to the UAE Derby, so we'll get you out in that direction, and I'll wrap things up here. Again, no Keeneland today. It's Keeneland opening weekend, but because of anticipated weather, which is borne out, Friday and Saturday Keeneland cards have been moved to Monday and Tuesday. Still planning to run tomorrow at Keeneland, but the Monday and Tuesday cards will be, Friday had the Ashland, that'll be Monday. Saturday today had the, Bluegrass, that'll be Tuesday, so no Keeneland today. Same weather system, has gone hundreds of miles and affecting Oaklawn. They have some wet weather as well. They moved today's card to tomorrow. No Oaklawn, no Keeneland today. Don't forget, Kentucky Derby Future Pool closes today at 4 o'clock. Keep that in mind. And you'll find some prices in there. So check it out, and keep in mind that it closes at 4 o'clock today. Aqueduct, they changed their post time today to 12:30. Big wood card. I'll be in this afternoon. If it starts at 12:30, I'll be back a little over an hour or so to kick things off. I'll look at some Gulfstream and some Aqueduct today, again with Keeneland and Oaklawn on the sidelines. But still plenty of great action, including that really, really nice Aqueduct card, certainly. But we have plenty of action as well across the planet, around the globe, as it were, with Meydan over in Dubai, Dubai World Cup Day, coming up in this UAE Derby. Flood Zone, the winner of the Gotham, currently the 9-5 favorite. Shin Forever, Japanese horse that ran second in the, the Saudi Derby. Last time was over in Saudi Arabia. That one is sitting at 7-1, but Flood Zone currently the 9-5 favorite in here. Again, coming up a little bit later on, race number 6, Straight No Chaser goes in the Golden Shaheen. Dan Blacker, American entrant. Rebels Romance, who we've seen over here in the Breeders' Cup, goes in the 8th race, the Dubai Shima Classic, and then in the Dubai World Cup, scheduled to go off at 1:30. Pit show, rattle and roll, and Forever Young. Should be a lot of fun. So stay tuned for all of that action here on the network. But they are just getting ready to load in for the UAE Derby. So we will step back and wind it up for this edition of Racing Across America. Thanks for tuning in. Seth Merrow in the studio, and we'll continue to be in the studio for afternoon cut-ins on OTB Live on this Saturday afternoon. Looking forward to it. Appreciate your tuning in. We'll see you in a few.
Capital Off-Track Betting.
Practiced them in his homework. He's taken to them well, and they look the ideal age. Just to help Safi in the early parts of the race, keep him in a rhythm and keep him with the field.
This horse, Dragon, is